everyone. Thanks for joining. And today I am here with my friend Lindsey. And today we're going to be talking about fitness. So thanks for joining me, Lindsey.
Oh, I'm happy to. This is a topic that I've been excited about. And so I'm happy to spend some time, talking together about it.
Yeah, me too. Well, let me start first by asking, what are some of your favorite ways to stay fit and to focus on fitness?
Yeah, so fitness is something that's really only become important to me in the last number of years, few years. It's something that I didn't used to. And I found when I have two children, and I found that I needed something that was just for myself, that was something that was time that I could spend for myself and to do something for myself. And so, and something that was good for my physical health and my mental health too. And so
important.
Yeah. And so I'd say that probably about maybe 8 years ago, I started to get involved with fitness, and I was taking a lot of small group classes. So there was a trainer, a person that I worked with that used to run small group classes, and I took her classes for a few years and really enjoyed it because it was a chance to exercise, move my body, and also it was social too, because I was taking small group classes. And so it was a lot of boot camp type classes, which is usually, just sort of doing exercises for cardiovascular fitness. And that's really how I started and became involved in kind of getting involved with fitness. And then since then, I've done a few other types of fitness activities. For a number of years, I went to a gym that was called Pure Barre, and that gym was a place where we were doing Pilates type activities, sort of kind of a combination of dance and Pilates, and I really liked that. And then when the pandemic started, I needed something I could do at home. So, my fitness activity has really shifted to home-based activities during the pandemic.
Can you, for people who might not be familiar with some of the classes you mentioned, can you share a little bit more about what a Pilates workout might be like and a bar workout might be like, and how maybe they're similar or different?
Sure. So a lot of those types of workouts are about small movements and really maximizing how your muscles react to small movements. And so I'd say that a Pilates workout and a bar workout, at least from my experience, have been sort of similar. That they'll focus on certain areas of your body. So you might do work in your core, so that's sort of your midsection of your body, whether that's through an exercise like doing a crunch, where you're sort of just moving your shoulders up off the ground, or doing exercises where you're using your legs and doing a lot of kind of small movements, almost like you might see a dancer doing who's practicing ballet, right? Where you're seeing them do a lot of small movements with their legs. So I'd say that those kinds of workouts were the type of workout that it felt like that was a lot of work either with your legs or your core, your midsection, or sometimes your arms, to really help build muscles in those muscle groups.
So small movements, but still building muscles and focusing on muscle toning at that point.
Muscle toning, yeah.
So I know you mentioned the small group classes. For me, I think that was also a really big way to get more involved in fitness because of the social aspect. Because I could meet my friends at the aerobics class. I used to do Zumba, which is like dancing and working out at the same time, and that was a lot of fun too. You also mentioned boot camp classes. Can you share a little bit what that means and how boot camp is different?
Yeah, so I'd say that the boot camp classes were more focused on your cardiovascular health, your heart health, and doing more exercises that might have been, people might have heard of a term like calisthenics, right? Like that was, things like doing jumping jacks or push-ups or um, sit-ups, where you're doing big movements with your body. And those classes would also include some jumping and running and things like that. And so it was hard work. And so it a lot of times be, spend 30 seconds or 1 minute on doing this exercise and then move quickly into another exercise for another 30 seconds or 1 minute. So it was definitely a hard class, but encouraging. And I think that was something that was really great for me at the time when I was starting to get into fitness, to sort of prove to myself that I could do it, because I'm not somebody who grew up being very athletic. I didn't participate in a lot of teams or things like that. And so I always kind of doubted my physical abilities and my physical fitness. And so being able to do some of those hard exercises, like doing the jumping jacks, or there's an exercise called a burpee where
Burpees
you
are
go
tough.
down on the ground, you jump your legs out, you jump them back in, and then you jump up. That is like the hardest exercise that I think is out there. And being able to prove to myself in the boot camp classes that I could do that really increased my confidence and
Yeah.
able to be someone who was physically fit.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. First of all, I agree on the burpees being really hard. Those can tire you out really quickly if you do
Yeah.
so many of them. But yeah, I've done a few boot camp classes too. I still enjoy the boot camp classes. And I like that I also learn new terminology for moves like burpee. I don't know that I would have known that without some of the boot camp classes, or just, what specific, like, squat jumps and things that, to me, when I first started working out, because I also didn't really focus on fitness until later in life. It felt like a foreign language when I was learning all
Right.
the terminology. And even now when I'm working out, I feel like I've learned a new language when I talk about, if I mention like a specific move or exercise. It just has expanded my view of what fitness can be.
Right, right. And I find that some of the fitness instructors use different terms for the same move, right? And so
That's true.
I know, you and I are doing a lot of these Peloton strength workouts together, and
Uh-huh.
connecting on that. And I find that compared to my previous fitness instructor, sometimes it's the same physical move that I've done before, but it has a new name. And so it's definitely a lot to keep track of. But I think that one thing that's really great about personal fitness is that you can be on your own journey with it, and that you don't necessarily need to be an expert right off the bat. You can learn, you can grow in it,
Yeah.
and you can, if you don't know something, you have time to learn it. It doesn't have to be right away.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think especially now during the pandemic, when, as you mentioned, we've been doing these Peloton workouts, it's been a change to work out at home by yourself, by myself, and to find community in different ways,
Mhm.
online or connecting with people directly. And we might be doing the same workout, but doing it each in our own space and on our own time. It's been actually really nice. I don't know that I'll go back to it after the pandemic, to like in
I
person.
I I agree. I mean, there were some of the social aspects of the group fitness classes that I miss, but I do find that I'm making a lot of those same connections online, and I like the flexibility in terms of being able to exercise whenever I can fit it into my schedule. When I can fit it in between work and things I need to do for my children, childcare, or things I need to do around the house. I mean,
Yep.
cooking and cleaning and all of the things that we
Yes.
do. And so it's nice that I don't have to be in a certain place at a certain time to fit it in, yet I can still have the support of a friend to work
Yeah.
out, together with, even if we're not doing it at the exact same time, we're checking in with each other.
Yeah. And a really effective workout too. Feel like we're working out important part of the body.
Yeah.
Are there any workouts that you don't enjoy doing for fitness?
I am not a runner. I can tell you that. I've tried. And when he was 9 or 10, he became interested in running, and so I tried to do some running with him, and he and I actually did a couple of 5K races together that we trained for, and we ran and we practiced, and then we did three when he was in fourth or fifth grade. We did three races, and I hated every minute of the running. I really enjoyed doing something with my son. And so that's why I kind of pushed myself to keep doing it. But running has not been a good match for me.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you? Are there things that you don't like to do with fitness?
You mentioned running. I actually love running. I find that it's a really great time. You mentioned the mental health aspects of working out and staying fit. For me, working out does provide that, but running is like a time when I can just clear my head and think through things in a way that I think the uninterrupted time is key, because if I'm just by myself and I'm running, it helps me think very clearly. Um, I would say I have a really hard time. I'm trying to enjoy it more, and I'm trying more and more of it, but yoga is really hard for me. I am, so I guess I don't like it because it's so hard, but I'm trying to appreciate it and enjoy it more because I see the benefits and I feel better when I do it. So, but just doing it I'm not very flexible. And I find that I just, because I struggle through doing it, it just makes me not want to do it, even though I know the benefits and I feel the benefits when I do it. But I'm trying it more and more, see if my opinion of it changes.
Yeah, good for you. I also, yoga is not my favorite either. It's a little too slow for me. I'm not sure. I don't
and
know.
and I'm starting to appreciate it because I think doing actually some of the bar and Pilates workouts, I've started to appreciate that slow can be effective, because in my mind, especially when I first started focusing on fitness, if you weren't dripping in sweat at the end, like, was that really a workout? But it doesn't, I've had to change my mindset about it, um, and feeling the difference has been a big motivator for me. But yeah, it's still hard. Are there any things that you do to help get you motivated to work out? Like for me, I like music and making sure I have a good playlist if I'm not going to do like a structured workout. Are there any things that you do to help you stay
Yeah,
motivated?
I think, trying to schedule the time so to make sure that it's a priority is motivating. And sort of that knowing that this is something I'm doing for myself. It's not something I'm doing for my job. It's something I'm doing for myself. That can be motivating too. And I think we all have days that we need a break, and that sometimes some days I'm not motivated, and I give myself permission to not be motivated that day. But I know I'm always going to feel better after a workout. And that's something that I tell my kids too, if I'm trying to encourage them to exercise and they're not feeling motivated, or they're feeling tired, or, that they feel like they just don't want to do it that day, that that to remind them that they're always going to feel better after they did it. And even if it's just spending 10 minutes or 15 minutes on exercising, that you'll get some benefit out of it. So that can be motivating for me too. It's just like that feeling of knowing that it's going to be positive in my brain, in my mind after I'm done.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip, to schedule it in and then just think about how you'll feel after. For me, I also find I think the hardest part is getting started. So if I say, just start 5 minutes, and if after 5 minutes it's not happening, then I give myself permission to stop. And after 5 minutes, I think, well, I'm here, I might as well finish whatever I'm doing. I think that just getting started has sometimes been the hardest part.
Right. And that's with motivation for anything, right? That sometimes getting started is just the hardest part.
It is true. Is there a certain time of the day that you enjoy working out?
So I'd say that morning is probably the time I enjoy most, but I don't like waking up really early in the morning. So I'm a great morning exerciser on the weekend, but it's really hard for me to set my alarm for 5 a.m. to exercise, before work. So during the week, I've actually been finding that right before I eat dinner can be a good time to exercise, because I work in a school, and so I usually am home most days by 4 o'clock. And so I kind of find that time in between when I get home and when we eat dinner can be a good time for me, because then afterwards I'm hungry from exercising.
Yes.
And I can, take a shower and put on comfortable clothing, for the evening to relax and eat my dinner. And that seems to be working out pretty well for me. But in the summer, when I'm not working, or if it's a weekend or a vacation, I really prefer to work out in the morning. That feels like it's a good way to start the day and gives me energy for the day, but not at 5 a.m.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think nothing really happens before 7:30 in our house. So yeah, I'm with you. I think if I can work out in the morning, I prefer it, but sometimes it just gets busy and I can't. And sometimes I find myself working out like 11:30 at night. And as long as it's before the end of the day, I feel like it's a win. So
it is. And I'm so impressed with you that you can have the energy to do that in the evening like that.
I think because I am also motivated by, I like the tracking aspect of some of the workouts that we've been doing. And so I don't like not having the little filled in circle of,
right.
I did it that day.
Right. Motivated to make sure you checked the day off on the calendar.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's good for me. Well, we've been talking a lot about different workouts and different types of workouts. Is there any special equipment that you use while working out?
So I have a couple of things I use. So I have both a bike that I ride outside, an outdoor bike, and I love to do long rides, especially on weekends, to do a ride that's 15 or 20 miles. We have some wonderful trails that are for bikes and walkers and runners around here that are paved.
Oh, yeah.
And so I use those a lot. I also have a stationary bicycle that I use in the house. And I got that this year during the pandemic because I wanted to be able to ride inside. And so that's an exercise equipment that I use. And then I've been using weights and doing some strength training. And so that's something that's new for me that I've never done before. So I used to do group fitness classes. I've always ridden my outdoor bike, but the weight work is new, and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm starting to see some definition and toning, and that is a nice reward as well in my muscles. That I can see it in my body where because of these weights that I'm using, I'm making some changes.
Yeah, that's great. I think with the weights, with the strength workouts, for me too, it's been really nice to, things that are surprising, such like I can pick up the really big bag of dog food from my dog, and like I'm not struggling as much to get it in the cart. Things that are small and surprising improvements that I'm noticing. So that's been nice.
Yeah, it is nice when the work that you're doing for your fitness pays off in your everyday activities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Thanks so much, Lindsey. I think that's it for our conversation. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, this was really fun to talk about our fitness journeys together, and I enjoyed this.
I enjoyed it as well. And we hope you all have a great time talking about fitness with your conversation partners. Bye.